Hey guys, it's time for another video. It's been over 2 months now since my last one. I feel kind of bad about that. I just like putting out videos, I don't have anyone looking forward to them. I don't have anyone asking for them, but I just like putting them out with some regularity because I like the idea that people are watching them, even if people aren't actually watching. And sometimes I get comments, which is really nice. So today's video is about No More Heroes 3. This is just gonna talk about some of my thoughts on the recent trailer, which is subtitled "The Return," which I think is probably a subtle Twin Peaks season 3 reference that came out at the Game Awards. And this trailer was really interesting for a lot of people because they sort of tried to do a little fake out in the beginning where it starts off animated as an anime, and it sort of tells a story almost like E.T. Um, and then it gets a little weirder as it goes on, and then eventually the trailer ends with a fake title, and then Travis crashes through the screen, reveals that it's No More Heroes 3. Um, as I have been doing over the past few days, right now I'm going to brag a little that I knew from the start that it was No More Heroes because Fu, the little alien, whose name seems to always be capitalized, so I'm guessing there's some sort of like "fu" kind of gag there. Um, Suda had tweeted the little baby version of him out way back in June before the original No More Heroes 3 trailer at E3, which also had like a little bit of a fake out in it. Um, so he tweeted that out, and I never forgot it. Um, I think I was tweeting my friends like before the Nintendo Direct. I was like, "Hey, if you see this little alien guy in a trailer, it's going to be No More Heroes 3, even if it doesn't look like it." Which is really funny because that message ended up being relevant now months later when they did it again. They did another fake out. Um, the first one kind of worked on me, but this one did not. And it was still super cool. I was sort of distracted because I was watching the Game Awards with other people. They were talking, and the whole trailer is the short version is really, it's like kind of hectic, like it's sort of hard to get a grasp on exactly what's going on. Um, so I really had to wait to form real thoughts until I saw the extended version later that night. Though, I mean, just to start, it's super cool that No More Heroes 3 got it showing at the Game Awards. And not only that, I would say it was probably one of the trailers that generated the most buzz, like among the people that it's appealing to. Like, I don't think it was one of the games that generated the most buzz that night, but like certainly the right people seem to be really interested. Like Suda fans seem to be interested, Japanese game fans seem to be interested. And there's people on Reddit who are like, I'm gonna get into this series. Like, what? I saw this the other night in the Game Awards. I was like, what is this? I want to get into it, which is awesome. Um, but I want to talk about the actual trailer itself and sort of what it means for the game and what I think of all that. And I'm not gonna like go through chronologically or anything because the first part there's not that much to talk about all in all. But um, if you happen to have seen my Travis Strikes Again review, which you can go back and watch it if you haven't, that was a pretty negative review. There was a lot of stuff in that game that sort of indicated to me that No More Heroes as a series was sort of turning away from some elements that I liked about it. Mostly in the first game, it sort of already started turning away in the second one. Um, but the thing is that now that I've played Travis Just Again, it would be a foolish thing to do to continue expecting a version of No More Heroes that doesn't exist anymore. So I think you'll find that my thoughts on this trailer are going to be a lot more optimistic because I'm just going to enjoy what we do get. Now, I'm not going to think that we're going to go back to sort of a less wacky, more realistic thing like No More Heroes 1, which I think a lot of No More Heroes fans might think, but No More Heroes 1 realistic? What? And like the truth is that it is. Like if you go back and look at it, like it is more realistic. Like it's supposed to sort of evoke like this sort of loser guy, like driving around town and whatever. And you're only in Santa Destroy. You don't go to any of these weird locales. You're sort of just in and around Santa Destroy, maybe up until the end. Um, so there is a bit of realism there that's not as much in the later games. It sort of slowly turns away. It takes the seed that's there in the first game of all this craziness and sort of expands upon it. Anyway, so now that we're here in No More Heroes 3, It sort of seems from the trailer that the enemies are going to be this primarily this group of aliens who kind of pass themselves off as superheroes, which I don't really know if that's really going to figure into the plot beyond just being sort of this funny thing of like, hey, superhero movies are popular now, so these aliens are trying to act like them. Um, the story of the trailer itself is really interesting and kind of dark, I thought, where this guy Damon Riccitello, who is a villain from Travis Strikes Again, which I don't really remember him much from that game, um, sort of finds that this alien friend he made when he was a kid has sort of grown up and now become like a kind of warlord, conqueror guy, and he doesn't seem too happy about that, even though he's kind of a bad guy himself. Um, and so that was really interesting, and I kind of wonder what kind of drama we might get out of that, because emotions can come in really weird places in Suda games and No More Heroes. So I'm interested to know what's going to happen with that. But I think the concept of having aliens be the villains, the primary villains of No More Heroes 3, at first is weird because once again it's a real stretch of the imagination compared to stuff in the other games. Even in No More Heroes 2, which I don't think there was Captain Vladimir, but he wasn't really an alien; he was like a ghost. Um, and there were ghosts that were in the first game too, so that was kind of established. But really, once you think about it, like it's nice, I would say, not so much to have like aliens specifically, but to have aliens, to have a group of villains that are connected to each other. I think that's something that it really felt like that No More Heroes 2 really felt like it was lacking. Where like not only were the bosses in No More Heroes 1 did you learn about each of them individually, but they also sort of all had this sense about them that they were assassins, that they were like about that life. Um and that they were sort of all like these kind of lonely people. You know what I mean? Like you could see that in Shinobu and Holly and you know, Dr. Peace especially, like you could see kind of that they all had this sort of shared thing where it really seemed like the assassination, like that's an actual career that they have, and you could see kind of how it affected them. In No More Heroes 2, you just had a bunch of crazy bosses who you could only feel it with some of them, like Margaret obviously was kind of like a No More Heroes 1 boss in that respect. So in No More Heroes 3, it's going to be cool to have a group of bosses that are again sort of unified by a theme. And it's really a stronger theme than just being a group of weird assassins. Um, and I mean, the craziest, the coolest thing about it is that the designs of these alien creatures are just so crazy. I mean, that's an aspect of the trailer that I think is getting a lot of discussion, is just the various art styles on display. Um, and I mean, you have Travis at the end, who is like sort of in the same style as in the original trailer. Uh, at E3, but then everything else is all different. You have the intro, which is 2D, and then when Damon grows up, he's also 2D, but then when Fu comes back, he's 3D. His friends are 3D, but it's like a weird kind of cell shady sort of 3D. And then when the alien weird jellyfish thing destroys the whole segment of the city, you see these really weird people who are they're drawn by the studio that worked on Pop Team Epic. And I remember some of the work from that show. It's really, really weird looking. And then they blow up into these weird, like little furry animal type explosion things, which I think are just supposed to be explosions, just faces. Um, and it's just really cool because there was a Twitter thread where some guy who's really deep into grasshopper manufacture and stuff like that really described all the different artists that were working on the trailer and what their roles were, and it's really cool to see that collaboration. This was kind of stuff that was already done a little bit with Travis Strikes Again, how like Suda brought on this guy Boneface from England to design the bosses for that game, and now he's bringing in this other artist who is just way crazier to design these aliens. Um, and he's still bringing on Kozaki, apparently Yusuke Kozaki from the first two games, which I mean it's some of the best character design work I think period, in specifically the first game, from Yusuke Kozaki. I mean that's the kind of the game that really put him on the map, I think. So that was before Fire Emblem. Apparently he's back, so he's going to be designing some bosses, which I'll get to the returning bosses in a little bit. So if No More Heroes is sort of this melting pot, as I say, of not only pop culture story elements, where like Travis Strikes Again is a take on all these different genres of video games, and No More Heroes has always been about movies, and it seems like it'll continue to be that, just as much as it's about games in terms of the superhero stuff. So it's not just an amalgamation of like Suda's all this pop culture that Suda consumes, but also sort of this collaboration now of different creators, which is a really cool way to do it. Where like maybe if Suda feels like he's getting older and he's not as good creatively, he can sort of lean on these other people, these other younger people who are punk. I mean that's what Grasshopper's always tried to be about, is this punk aesthetic, and you can totally see that like in this new trailer where like some people don't know how to react to it. And it's really cool that even like 20 years on, Grasshopper can still say like, yeah, we're pretty punk guys. Like look at this, look at these people we're using, look at this stuff we're doing. So that's just I really like this group of bosses. I really look forward to fighting them. Some of them look super cool. I hope we get to learn a little about each of them, and sort of that them all being in the same group sort of leads to a more interesting story. Because even the bosses in Travis Strikes Again, who are all supposed to be video game bosses, they weren't really connected. you know. But like I said, there are also going to be some returning bosses, including Kimi Howell, whose design is being done by Mari Shimazaki, who worked on Bayonetta. And then Destroyman is back, looking freaking weird, and he's going to have like his own henchmen and do his own whole thing. So the story isn't just going to be these aliens. So I really don't know exactly what's going to occur with that. At the end of the trailer, Travis mentions these galactic superhero rankings, which is interesting because that sort of makes it seem like the story is sort of going away from this assassin concept, or this killer concept that, not only No More Heroes, but pretty much all the studios games have meditated on, like, what does it mean to be a killer? What does it mean to do this as a profession, or just, as something you do? What does it mean to do that? And, it might not necessarily be a bad thing, because I found a lot of the stuff about that in Travis Strikes Again to be sort of muddled, and that could just be on me, because I've never been great at understanding a lot of the media that I consume, I will admit. So, that could just be me not getting this deep layered stuff that's in some of these games. But it did seem like, if No More Heroes is going to sort of strip away that serious aspect of it, maybe it should just go all in on that and have galactic superhero rankings. But I do wonder, now that the assassination stuff might not be as pertinent, how Sylvie is going to fit into it, because she's obviously, that's sort of her role, is to sort of command all this stuff, the UAA, which was, fake, and then it wasn't fake, and none of that ever really made sense. But it still begs the question of what role is she going to have now? And how all these other assassins, these returning characters, who are there surely going to be more than just Kimi and Destroyman, are going to be involved too. In fact, speaking of returning characters, at the very end of the new trailer, we see a small snippet of gameplay, which is sort of in a filter, so you can't really see that well, but it's a fight in front of the No More Heroes motel. And Travis is fighting a guy who is dressed like Henry and using two green versions of Henry's beam katanas, which is really funny to see them, in 2019, given that, Kylo Ren has sort of made that design like a well-known thing. But just to know that Henry did it first is really weird. But the guy doesn't really look like Henry. He has different hair, and I don't think Henry would change his hair like that. Because Travis hasn't really changed his look at all. Even though, he's like substantially older now than he was in the first game. He's supposed to be, at least. So Henry's will surely be back. Maybe he has his own faction now. It sort of seems like with Destroyman is going to have these mass-produced versions. They're going to have alien invaders in this massive ship. I guess maybe every boss will have their own sort of themed henchmen. And, I don't know if the story will be galactic exactly, as they describe it. Suda said that there would be open worlds in this game, so it kind of seems like it will still be sort of bound to Stand and Destroy, but it would be interesting if maybe there was sort of separate open worlds in different locations, which is something I wanted for 2 way back when. I thought it would be fun for it to be sort of a globe-trotting adventure with different open worlds. But I think other than that, what else is there to say? Goddamn superheroes, yeah. I kind of wish there was a game called that. Some people are debating the sort of canon status of the new trailer, given that it comes up with a title at the end and it has the developer Hasra, who worked on the Travis Strikes Again games, within that story has a Death Drive logo. But I think that's just a silly little title card. I think that everything we see in the trailer is canon to the story of the game. I think Damon and Fu and Fu was teased not only as baby Fu back in Suda's Twitter, but even back in the official Nintendo Twitter after E3, they would show a picture of Fu's 4 eyes. We didn't know who that was back then. We didn't know that it was the same as the baby alien thing, but now we do. So, yeah, I don't exactly know where the story is going to go, but at this point, I'm just going to really sort of try to... I know I tend to look off in the distance as I think a lot. I'm just going to really try to enjoy what I can from it. We're going to see Shinobu again because she was in TSA. We're probably going to see Bad Girl because she was in TSA. So there's going to be a lot of returning characters, hopefully playable. I really just hope that this is a game where Suda delivers on everything that he sets up, and that he has set up. Because things like Travis's family have always been in this sort of weird state throughout the series where we don't really know where they're at. Where, Sylvia supposedly has a child at the end of the first game. It was probably from her marriage to Henry. And then she divorces Henry in the second game, and then she gets with Travis, and then Travis finds her like years later or something at the end of the second one. We don't know what the deal with that is. Then Travis Strikes Again. Excuse me. He's off somewhere, who knows where, in the middle of nowhere. We don't know what happened there, but at the end of that game, spoilers, you find out that now they have another kid named Hunter. And I think the girl from the first game, who, we haven't heard about this girl in 12 years since that game came out. She wasn't even alluded to in the second game. No, she does exist, actually, the little Jean. Not Travis's sister Jean, who he killed. So, things like that sort of make me wonder how seriously Suda takes his own series. That's sort of a big thing that got me kind of disillusioned with the No More Heroes games, and, maybe Suda in general, is that he kind of plays it fast and loose with the sort of worlds of his games, and kind of what sort of makes sense, not only from like this very strict, like, oh, could this technology happen perspective, not something stupid like that, but just from a story perspective, even. And, things like how he wanted to have Shinobu as a secret boss in No More Heroes 2, and then just didn't put that in, and then just never resolved the kind of plot thread that was left open in No More Heroes 2 with Shinobu, and she just shows up in Travis Strikes Again like nothing's changed. Like she has like this weird sultry sort of like voice, like she wants to get with Travis, and it's like, and she like, this is like 7 years later, like maybe she's changed a little bit. I don't know. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, he puts this Killer 7 connection in Travis Strikes Again. Is that going to be in No More Heroes 3? The Silver Case connections, is that going to be in No More Heroes 3? People act like Suda has some grandmaster plan. I know I've been messing up a lot in this video, but whatever, it doesn't matter. When there's interviews back from when No More Heroes came out where he says that his games don't take place in the same universe. I have a screenshot up. I should put it up somewhere because a lot of people think there's a grand plan. Some Japanese creators have that kind of foresight, but others don't. Not every creator does. And I think Suda is one of the ones who doesn't. I think he does what pleases him. I think he put all those connections in Travis Strikes Again because that was like a Grasshopper anniversary game, which is what it works pretty well as. But I wouldn't be surprised if none of that stuff is in No More Heroes 3. I think we're going to have to wait until some sort of expanded Killer 7 remake comes out, which is possible. He's talked about it, until we see more of those characters. But I think that's all I have to say. Like I said, I'm generally optimistic about this game. I hope it has a budget that's big enough to sort of really be as crazy as I know Suda wants it to be. Because, Travis Strikes Again, like, there's a lot of creativity there, but the gameplay just wasn't good, and it didn't allow you to do, enough to really make it, just, I don't know, intense, and I want this game to be bigger than No More Heroes 2, to be wilder. You know, we've skipped, you know, basically a whole generation now since the last main No More Heroes game, you know, which is on the freaking Wii. You know, we're now on a system that's like more than twice as powerful as that. So I just hope the graphics are good enough and everything's good enough. But I think that's all I have to say. If you have stuff you want to say about No More Heroes 3, comment and let me know, because there's a lot of discussion to be had. And I hope this game is good. I don't know. I need to get back in the video recording groove, guys. Thanks for watching.